Good morning. Welcome to Wedgwood Community Church. If you are here with us live, we are glad you're here. And if you are watching later in the day or later in the week, we are glad that you have chosen to join us. The first thing we do every Sunday is go to our announcements. All right, announcements and upcoming events. Next Sunday, I will be leading the service, and the title is Blessed Be. During these difficult times when we are all struggling, we all need a blessing, and we just feel like we need something more to help us get through these times. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week, and that's what we're going to be doing next week. It's going to be quite a unique and unusual service. So we hope that you will choose to join us. Our fall schedule next Sunday is Blessed Be, in which we will be talking about our healthcare workers, our teachers, others who we would love to bestow blessings upon during this time. And then October the 3rd, Blessing of the Animals. So feel free to bring your pet to church on that Sunday. Feel free to email pictures to us that we can share. And as we said, if you don't have a pet right now, please select one of our wildlife animals and friends. We have many that are on the endangered list because that would be very appropriate for blessing of the animals. October the 10th, Rabbi Rachel Smooker was scheduled, but she has contacted me that her mother is in Minnesota and is on life support. So she will not be able to join us on the 10th, but she will reschedule when times get better. October 17th will be an interesting Sunday. All God's Children. Donna, Dorothy, and myself will present. And we all have stories of adoption. So we are going to intertwine those stories to talk about all God's children. October 24th was the Pride Parade Sunday, but I believe all of those events we're going to hear will be canceled. There may be some things on Zoom and other social media, but not the parade. But Rachel Buchanan will be leading the service that day. And then October 31st for All Saints Day, Representative Brandon Lawson will be speaking. And we will remember people that we have lost, friends that we have lost this year. If you have family members, if you have friends you have lost, feel free to send me pictures, and we will be happy to share them on that day. We have lost at least one church member that I know of. Wedgwood Community Garden is what a great way to get outside in this wonderful, beautiful weather and help. We need people to go water the garden. We need people to just take care of the beds and, just go over there sometime and sit. It's so lovely. All of this, the food that we glean goes to our food pantry. Contact the church and we can give you more information on how to get involved. And Wedgwood has a blog. We love to publish your poems, your stories, your art, anything at all. So get in contact with us and let us share that. Our group's meeting Thursday, September the 30th. The Social Justice Book Club will meet again. I believe we have finished essays of Angela Davis, have we not, Donna? So what's next?
I'll have to look at It is a book about gender.
Yes.
And I just turned my phone off, so I've got the name of it in there. Let me see if I can find it for you. Maybe I can get it here.
You can tell us in a few minutes.
It's Gender, Your Guide.
Gender, Your Guide. All right, and we have a group, Maya's Moving in One Spirit. Dorothy, would you like to share a few thoughts about that group?
Sure. So far, I feel like this is a wonderful group. It's a group that let us dives into topics with dealing with mind, body, and spirit expansion. And so far, we've had 3 meetings, and I mean, it's just wonderful. And I've learned, as you said, Melba, if somebody doesn't agree, we can always learn from it. And we experienced that in our last meeting. And you're right, when somebody doesn't agree with you and you sit and analyze it, they help us grow. So we have a great meeting. And again, like in church, we either agree or we don't, but either way, we're going to grow with each other. And I hope to see you guys this Sunday. This Sunday, we're going to hear Rachel Buchanan. And also, I hope Thomas is working on his assignment. We're going to be focused on I am self-healing mechanisms, just so we can keep growing and be more healthier inside in our spirit. I hope to see you guys all there. Thank you.
And Dorothy, it's not tonight, it's the following Sunday.
I'm sorry, next Sunday. Yes.
And that's very apropos for Wedgwood. You don't have to agree with anything here at Wedgwood. That's why we're all here. But just because we don't agree with it doesn't mean we don't need to learn about it and listen. And that's what Wedgwood is all about, respecting each other and our beliefs. So amen to what you said, Dorothy.
It's a great intimate group. It's a great intimate group so far.
The Social Justice Committee will meet again on September the 21st. And the Children and Youth Committee, we've already met in September, will announce the October meeting. At Wedgwood, you don't get elected to a committee. You say, I want to be on that committee. And you can join that committee anytime during the year. Our committees are open for everybody. So give it some thought and hop on one of these committees and get involved. Some of the projects that we are still involved with, we are working with the First Christian Church on East Boulevard to provide shower access for the homeless. We always need volunteers for that. It's easy. You just welcome the people, greet the people as they come, make sure they have the toiletries and towel that they need from a social distance. Just be there with a smiling face. Our Queen City Assisted Living, we adopt residents from the Queen City Assisted Living. It's no contact adoption right now, and you can get involved in that by contacting Travis at this email. We work with the Charlotte Atheists and Agnostics on their distribution to the homeless, but we provide the sandwiches. We say PB&J, but it's any kind of sandwiches, just to label what they are so that we don't give someone ham that doesn't want ham. So get involved in that. The next date will be October 2nd. Our food pantry has tremendous needs. The number of families that we are serving has grown tremendously. And we need donations of the items listed here. And we will also accept financial donations for the food pantry and let the food pantry volunteers do the shopping. You're welcome to come on Wednesdays and volunteer. You must be 16 years old or older. And if you're under 18, between 16 and 18, you need to have a parent accompany you. And our church giving program, we have 4 different ways now to give: mailing, Venmo, PayPal, and Zelle. We had some problems with our texting, so we are looking for another source to do the giving by text, and we'll hopefully get that up and going soon. Connect with us. We are on social media, so we hope that you will look for us on Facebook, on Instagram. If you haven't seen our wonderful new website. Please be sure to check it out. And you can email or call us anytime that you need to or want to. Feel free to contact the church staff, myself, ministerial coordinator, Liz, who is the community outreach coordinator. She's not here today. And Ashanti, our music coordinator, that you will hear sing at the end of the service. And the reminder, what the announcements we give on Sunday morning are very limited because of time. Please be sure to check for your newsletters every week, because there's a lot more information on all of these items, and there are a lot more ways that you can get involved in our newsletter. So please take time to read our newsletter. And we have a new section in our newsletter that we hope that you will participate in. We have a lot of friends who are at home, who cannot go anywhere. Some of them are older and don't know how to manipulate Zoom to come and join us on Sunday morning. So each week we are focusing on someone that would appreciate so much a card. Just get yourself a box of cards or note cards or something, and send them a little card and tell them you're thinking about them, you miss them, give them encouragement. Just a few words. Get that little card in the mail means a lot to people who are shut in like that. The first week, we did Kim, who is a friend of Donna's, and I have connected with, as well as Statesville. They are dealing with her husband and the father of 2 teenagers with COVID. And Donna, I believe he's been hospitalized close to a month now, has he not?
It's been about 6 weeks. So he's at Carolina's Maine.
It's a sad situation and 2 teenage boys. So we reached out to her. And so we have reached out to others. We reached out to Ashanti's daughter, Naj, who has health issues. And each week we will focus on someone that needs a card, needs to hear from us. Donna Carter, our friend and church member who was shut in at home. We have focused on her one week. So just take a minute and send them a card. You will see this in our newsletter. It's called Friends at Home. Any other announcements? We accept announcements from from other groups, not just Wedgwood. All right, then we will go to our prelude.
Whitman.
We have our wisdom reading this morning is Miracles by Walt Whitman.
Why? Who makes much of a miracle? As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Whether I walk the streets or dart my sight over the roofs of houses toward the sky, or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water, or stand under trees in the woods, or talk by day with anyone I love, or sleep in the bed at night with anyone I love, or sit at table at dinner with the rest, or look at strangers opposite me riding in the car, or watch honeybees busy around the hive of a summer forenoon, or animals feeding in the fields, or birds, or the wonderfulness of insects in the air, or the wonderfulness of the sundown, or of the stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in spring. These with the rest, one and all, are to me miracles, the whole referring, yet each distinct and in its place. To me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Every cubic inch of space is a miracle. Every square yard of the surface of the earth is spread with the same. Every foot of the interior swarms with the same. To me, the sea is a continual miracle. The fishes that swim, the rocks, the motion of the waves, the ships with men in them. What stranger miracles are there?
We all look for miracles and often feel that miracles just don't exist. But as we witness right now the changing of the seasons, every moment is a miracle. And at Wedgwood, our goal is to make miracles happen, to change the world. Today, our service centers around our children, education, and how we can make miracles happen for our future generations. We welcome Jen Neitzel, Executive Director of Educational Equity Institute, to speak to us today on social justice work is holy work. And now we will have our extravagant welcome, Laura and Thomas.
Laura, are you ready?
Yes.
We are all welcome here.
Welcome to a church that works for peace, justice, equality, and the care of Mother Earth.
An extravagant welcome to you because of your gender identification, sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed, or full of joy.
We are a community of curious and creative spiritual seekers, striving to learn and embody the way of Jesus and other spiritual leaders.
Like Jesus, we focus on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day.
One of the ways we seek to heal the world and ourselves is through sharing parts of our personal story. We are
all welcome here.
Welcome
here. Thank you. And every Sunday we have a moment for all ages. We're all children at heart. And so if you have children, bring them around. If not, it is a moment for all ages.
Okay, good morning, everybody. All right, Ashante. Oh, there you are. I thought, hey, buddy, how are you doing? It's good to see you this morning. Hey. Well, I think we've got a cool. Good morning. Good to see you. This morning we've got I love the video. We've just got a fun video to watch. And this video is going to focus on all the seasons of the year. And it's going to teach us about how every season is beautiful. You know, I all week I wasn't feeling great. I'm racking my brain. You know, what's my favorite season? What do most people like? But, you know, as a kid, I spent a lot of days waiting for the next. And now as I blossom to a new season, and I hope to instill this in youngsters so they don't struggle, I want us to kind of, as Donna was saying, there's miracles every second, every day. And I thought this was just a beautiful video to sing and dance us through every season of the year. So I hope we all enjoy this. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Evan, good morning. Well, do you have a favorite time of year? Is that Evan?
Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Devin. I'm sorry. I hardly remember my name some days. I'm sorry.
Which one you like better?
Fall.
He said fall.
Oh, man. Me too.
Because after fall, it's Halloween.
Oh, yes. And before I go, do you have a costume idea for this year?
What's your costume gonna be? Tell him.
Spider-Man coming from home, Spider-Man suit.
Oh, that's serious.
And I think I saw a picture that Gavin drew of Spider-Man
I
this
think
week
we
on
saw
Facebook, and you are such a good artist.
Yeah.
Kevin is an artist, there is no doubt. Kevin, you are very talented.
Thank you.
Say loud.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you very much as we sing and dance through the season. And hopefully we realize the beauty of every moment, as Donna reminded us, and that everything around us is beautiful and alive. And it's up to us to truly make it more beautiful in our perspectives. So thank you very much. I hope everybody has a good week. Bye.
Thanks, Dorothy. We come now to our time of meditation, prayer, and reflection. We have many, many different beliefs at Wedgwood, so we use this time if you believe in prayer, if you believe in meditation, if you just want to sit and self-reflect for a few minutes, or just sit and relax your shoulders and have a moment in quiet, however you choose to use this time. But we first want you to share with us your concerns this week and your celebrations. Anyone?
Melba, I just got a message from Artie Hartzell. You know, Artie spoke to Wedgwood
Yes.
a few weeks ago, and he said the kiddo who is just barely too young to get vaccinated has COVID.
No.
My guess is from school. The adults in our family have symptoms and have to get tested tomorrow. We all feel not great, but not terrible. We all have asthma. Let's hope it stays not terrible. So I sent Artie a message and told him we would be praying for him and the family here at Wedgwood this morning.
Yes. Yes. Already spoke a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Donna, for sharing that. We want to remember Rabbi Rachel Snookler, who was deceased in October, that I mentioned earlier, has contacted me that her mother is on life support in Minnesota. So she has spoken several times, and I think everybody at Wedgwood just loves her. She's an amazing speaker. So let's remember Rachel and her family and her mother.
And I would ask that we continue praying for Dan Ero. He has shown considerable improvement this week. Last week, the doctor had asked his wife, Kim, who's my friend, what his final wishes were, you know. And so she was very concerned about that conversation. And miraculously, the next day, he showed some signs of brain activity. And he's actually moved his eyes and blinked and that sort of thing when asked. So they're seeing some promising signs. And he has been in the hospital with COVID for about 6 weeks. I think he went in August the 1st. And so keep Dan and his family in prayer. And I know Wedgwood has reached out to the family also.
And Travis, one of our members, has asked for continual support and lifting up and going through some difficult times. So we want to remember Travis. Any others?
We talked to Donna Carter yesterday, and just keep her in your prayers. Her ability to be mobile and with her breathing and her heart problems is becoming increasingly challenging.
I just want to send out prayers for, I say it every day, prayers for the teachers and the students in their classes, and my children that are in the school. And so far, yesterday, Gavin was coughing, like, oh God. And then I kept checking on him. I gave him cough medicine. I checked to see if he has a fever. I really got scared, you know. It's like, oh God, no, you know. So just keep praying for the teachers and the children and their activity, that we make it through the school year. And I do have a celebration. I know I've asked you all several times to pray for Naj so she can get her housing situated, to get adequate housing. Not that she has bad housing. It's just that where she lives, it's an apartment building and it's really tall. There's a lot of people in there, and she's on the 4th floor, and she needs to really be on the 1st floor. It's not a bad situation. It's that we need a better situation. The apartment is fine, just needs a better atmosphere. So we found out this week that she got a certificate or voucher, I guess you'll call it, so she can get the housing. So that she had been waiting for that for like 5 years, And so I think that we did it, with that prayers and everything. That's what I told her. I said, she didn't know that we were praying for her. I had told her after she got it, and she said, thank you. And so now she goes to a meeting next week to find out all the information that she needs to do and what to do next. So that's what I'm saying. I was like, yeah, that was like such a relief. So thank you. I know the prayer did work, that we kept asking for this, So thank you, Wedgwood.
That's good news. That's good news.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask that you send some positive thoughts to my son and his family in Calgary, Canada, where they live now. He has been trying to go through the immigration process right before COVID. COVID hit, courts shut down, so everything was at a stalemate. And it appears now that things are up and going. They have contacted him. He goes for a physical next week. So the attorney thinks that we should have answers within the next month. So I just ask you to send some positive vibes to the North, that and thoughts that things go well, no glitches, just that it goes well and it goes smoothly. So he gets permanent status in Canada with his family. They have 2 children, and I'm just excited for this to come to a close. It's been long, and it's been longer because of COVID. So just keep that in your thoughts. I'd appreciate it. Others.
I have an announcement of healing, I guess. I shared with you, Melba, that my daughters that I placed for adoption are visiting me on October 9th. And that's like a big deal to me by itself, because I haven't seen them in 4 years. And then it hit me, sometimes in the fall times, I'll get out of it, like backwards, dyslexic. I got sick this week, and I had to get into my heart. What's going on? My mother died in the fall. My mother died. It'll be 33 years this year. I haven't seen her since I was 9 years old. Every kind of emotion that has come through this, living life without my mother. Well, I don't know. I had to get her obituary. I couldn't remember her date. I mean, I called the funeral home. I called her newspaper. Thank God they were nice. I got her obituary sent to me. I'll be darned if my kids are not visiting on the day of my mother's death anniversary. It's amazing. Like every year, like I'm grieving my mother. My mother's gone. This year, my heart and my mind has flipped inside out, because I feel like in my imagination, every room I go into, my mother's there now. My mother's there alive and well. She's not in no grave. She says, I'm 42, she's 44. And I feel like my mother has come back to me in such a beautiful way. And I just feel strong. I just feel strong. And I just wanted to share that with y'all, because I thought I was going to fall apart that day. I feel like a cosmic just hit me, and I think it's going to be for the good. That's all.
And we are so excited for you to be reunited with your children. We are
Yeah.
thrilled that they will be here on that Sunday to join us at Westwood.
Yeah.
We are so happy for you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Dorothy, this is Mariah, and I definitely understand that. It's like my grandma, she had been passed for years now, but it's like in some way when anything going wrong or I feel overwhelmed, it's like I can feel her presence. Just the other day, it was like a bird that just wouldn't leave me alone, and it was like it was following me around, and I knew it was her spirit. So, that made me feel good. Even though they're not there physically, it makes you feel good that you can still connect with them.
Man, I love their company more than anything, I think, right now. Let's bring more life back. I don't like death. I don't like destruction.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mariah.
We'll go to a time of quiet, and as we said, it's a time of prayer. It's a time of just self-reflection. It's a time of meditation. It's just a time to sit and relax, however you choose to use the next few moments. Amen. It makes me so happy to welcome him to Wedgwood Church today. We go back a pretty good ways. We met at the Unitarian Universalist Church, and we were both kind of struggling with some social justice issues and just eating at our souls is the best way I know to say it. And over these past few years, I have watched Jen just do amazing things. Just got the fire in the belly, as they say. And Jen, I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of what you do. I'm so proud to know you. And welcome to Wedgwood. And with not further ado, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm so happy to be with y'all today. Yeah, just like Melba said, with the social justice piece, we are struggling with that. And myself, just a little bit about my background, about how I got into this work. So like I said at the beginning, I was a researcher and technical assistance provider at Frank Porter Grandchild Development Institute at UNC Chapel Hill for 15 years. And during that time, I was put on a project that was to examine the disproportionality in suspensions and expulsions for young Black children. So we're talking 3 and 4 year olds. And so I don't know if you all know, but the Office of Civil Rights, U.S. Department of Education, has been collecting data on suspensions and expulsions for decades. But in 2012, it was the first time that they started collecting data on preschool children. And so these are children that are housed within public pre-K programs that are in schools, in public schools. And so what they found with these data is that Black children, young Black children, that we're talking 3 and 4 year olds, are up to 4 times more likely to be suspended or expelled from an early learning program than white children. And that Black children in particular, they only make up 18% of that population, but they represent 48% of all suspensions and expulsions. And so when I saw those data, it was very hard for, like, I had a choice. It was like a fork in the road. I could pretend as a white person that I had never seen those data, or I could join the cause to make sure that we can do things to disrupt those data. And so obviously I made the latter choice and started working, looking at the role of implicit bias. That brought me into, well, surely it can't be just suspensions and expulsions. It's got to be how teachers form relationships with children. It's got to be how children receive instruction. And so that gradually pushed me down the road. Okay, well, it's the system. It's not just the practices, it's the actual system itself. And so while I was at Frank Porter Graham, I actually started the Educational Equity Institute, which is a nonprofit here in Charlotte. Well, I'm in Chapel Hill right now, but it's in Charlotte. So, just, you know, thinking about, I can be more spiritual with you guys than I am in trainings, and I'm happy to do so. But my business partner, my partner in crime, Ebony's Mead, she and I met randomly, and she had the same entrance into this work. And she started when she saw those data. And so she and I had both put in a proposal to the North Carolina Child Care Resource and Referral Agency conference on implicit bias. It was a 5-hour workshop. And our proposals were so similar that they asked if we would work together. And so we both said yes. We communicated through email, over the phone, but we did not meet in person until the day of the actual workshop. And it was like we had known each other our whole lives. It was so easy. It was just natural. And so she became my partner in crime at the Educational Equity Institute. And so we laugh now because when we first started doing this work, really our first training was in 2020, and it was in February 2020 in Seattle, 2 weeks before everything got shut down. And so we were like, when we got back, we were like, are you okay? Do you have COVID? Because the first case in Seattle was like 2 weeks later or something like that. But we look back now because that training that we did, those initial trainings that we did were very much focused on cultural competence, building educators' capacity to respond to children and families in a culturally appropriate way. Well, then, and things really slowed down for us at the beginning of 2020, obviously, because of COVID. Everybody was focused on COVID. But then the murder of George Floyd. And Ebenezer and I, at that time, decided that, I mean, it's literally like there's a cord in between our brains. And she and I, almost at the same time, were like, we need to shift the focus of our work. And we shifted the focus of our work to racial healing, because we firmly believe that we have all been traumatized and victimized in very different ways by racism and white supremacy in our society. And so we shifted our work to racial healing. And at the same time, we decided that we no longer can sugarcoat the issues here. And so because when I entered the racial equity work, it was a large debate with people doing the work, like, do we use the words white supremacy because it's gonna, upset white people? And so we were like, no, we're using the words white supremacy. And so we shifted our focus to racial healing and understanding that the 4 phases of racial healing is acknowledging that there's an issue and then engaging in some way. And part of that is doing your own work on self-reflection about how you've been complicit or, your family. I remember I'm a big fan of podcasts, and I was listening to this podcast. I'm sure being the spiritual community you are, it's the podcast series On Being with Krista Tippett. And there was an episode there, I think it was with Serene Jones, and she's the president of the Union Theological Seminary in New York City. And she was saying that she grew up in Oklahoma, and she was saying that her family settled the town that she grew up in. And she went home to visit, and she was going through things. And I don't know if you guys know this, because there's so much that we aren't taught, but when there were lynchings in our country, white people would put on their Sunday best. They would take their children. Then they would take pictures and make them into postcards and sell them. So she was going through things in her town and at home, and she came across a postcard, and there was a lynching that had taken a place within her town. And so she realized at that point that during that time period, her family made up 2/3 of the population of that town. So she realized that either her family was a part of it or they were there and knew about it. And so she really had to heal from that. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like, we need to explore ourselves how white supremacy and racism have affected us, even if we're white people, because it has in really negative ways, not in the same terrorism in ways that has affected Black people, but we have all been traumatized. And that's why we shifted our emphasis to healing, because we really feel that way. And so I just want to read a James Baldwin quote for you that we include in our training. And if you don't know James Baldwin, get familiar with him real fast. He was a brilliant writer. He was a brilliant thinker. He was a brilliant social commentator during the Civil Rights Movement. And there's a really fabulous documentary on Netflix called I Am Not Your Negro about him. And if you watch it, the reason it's so heavy is because it took place during the Civil Rights Movement, but it could still be true today. We haven't come that far from the Civil Rights Movement, even though we think that we've been living in a post-racial society. So anyway, this is a quote by James Baldwin, and it says, "Love takes off the masks that we fear we cannot live without and know we cannot live within. I use the word love here, not merely in the personal sense, but as a state of being or a state of grace, not in the infantile American sense of being made happy, but in the tough and universal sense of quest and daring and growth. And so we always emphasize to the people that we work with, this is actually a slide in our training, that we always push people to do the internal work. We have to do the internal work before we can work towards social justice in our society, because we have to understand, we have to deconstruct whiteness and how it shows up in ourselves. And we also have to deconstruct anti-Blackness, which has been, it's all encompassing of all other people of color have been absorbed into that anti-Blackness throughout our history. And so we have, as we always are evolving and growing ourselves, because that's what we do as human beings, right? And so I was included a slide because I'm a big fan of Deepak Chopra, right? And so he always talks about the root of holy means to become whole. And so when we're talking about social justice work, that's why social justice work is holy work, because we have to heal individually to become whole as humans before we can become whole collectively within our communities and within our society. And it's incredibly important. And this is where my frustration starts to grow with the school system, is because there's such an emphasis on putting in interventions, punishing, all of these things. And they don't understand that we're not going to get better outcomes until we help children and families heal. And so I want to give you some statistics, because we do two types of trainings. We do an introductory paradigm shift training, which is really focused on, generating a shared language and all of those kinds of things. Then we also do a historical and racial trauma training. And when we go into a community, I always research the history of the community related to Indigenous peoples, slavery, and lynchings. And so I'll give you some statistics. I'll start with Rowan County, right? Because we always look at the rural community. So I'll start there, and then I'm going to go to Charlotte. But with Rowan County, we went and we did this training with Salisbury High School in Rowan County. And so what I found when I was doing research for Rowan County in 1860, so we always have to look at 1860 because that's the height of King Cotton, right? We always learn in our history classes about Eli Whitney with the invention of the cotton gin. It was a revolutionary instrument. What we don't learn about is that it ushered in the largest period of transatlantic slave trade in our country, because cotton was incredibly expensive to grow. It required a lot of people to harvest it. But with the cotton gin, it simplified things incredibly, but they still needed the people in the field picking the cotton. And so we always have to look at the census of 1860, because that's when we're really going to find out what the population was in individual counties. So when we went into Rowan County in 1860, 27% of the population were slaves, 27% in that community. Then when I looked at the lynchings, there were 6 lynchings in that county. One were 2 brothers, 11 and 13. They got lynched because, of course, it's the same old thing always and always, because of a white woman. And they were, I forget their last name, but when we were doing the training, somebody realized that another man that had been lynched had the same last name, and they were actually from the same family. And then somebody said that family still lives in Rowan County. That's why we need to heal. It's in the ground in these counties and in these communities. We have to commit in our schools to heal our communities and heal our children and families. And so then I'll move to Mecklenburg County now, because we just did a training with the Children's Developmental Services Agency here in Charlotte. So when I was digging into the data for Charlotte, in 1860, 40% of the population were slaves in Charlotte. 40%.
Wow.
There are 49 slave cemeteries in Charlotte, 49. They're at Sardis Presbyterian. They're at Providence Presbyterian. They're at Matthews Merklin AME Church, right by my house. There's one on the grounds of the Little Theater of Charlotte in Cherry Myers Park. So we have to understand these families, when we're talking about Charlotte and trying to address the inequities in our community, is not going to happen until we address what's happened in Mecklenburg County and commit to healing that intergenerational trauma, especially when we're talking about the Brooklyn community and what they did to the Brooklyn community when they just bulldozed that into oblivion. So this is what we're talking about. And so it's not an easy task, but I just want to urge all of you to not only commit to your own healing through reading, and what we do is we always give people a resource list, and I can send that to you, Melba, too. But it's a resource list and it includes podcasts, which I love. You can just put in your earphones, go for a walk, listen to a podcast, learn great things. Podcasts, documentaries, books, movies, TV shows, all sorts of ways to enter this, your healing process and continue your learning, because that is a key part of social justice work. We have to commit individually. Because this problem is so big. This is about building a movement of people who understand, and they're not just doing it to be like a good person, that we're doing this because it is a moral obligation of all of us to right the wrongs of our history. And so I urge you guys to commit to your own healing, heal within your church community, and commit to helping the community heal, and whatever that looks like, and urge policymakers, urge our county commissioners, urge our Board of Education, thank God for our Board of Education right now, because they are not. I went to a board meeting when all those Moms for Liberty folks showed up, and it was just like total shenanigans, but because it's just willful ignorance. But they're not bowing to the pressure of these people who are against racial equity work. But, urge them to go even further, because even though I love the Board of Education, they're not approaching equity work in the way that they need to. So we need to urge our policymakers to address these issues in a way that is going to heal this community. And that's when we're going to get better outcomes in our schools. And so, with the current violence and kids bringing guns to school, there was a kid that took a gun to school at Myers Park on Friday, I think it was, or Thursday, a 15-year-old boy being arrested for rape and kidnapping at Olympic High. Like, it was not surprising to me after these kids were home for 2 years, surrounded by community and in community trauma, that they weren't going to have these issues in schools. And we can't punish these kids for their trauma. And so when we're talking about Black Lives Matter, Black pain has to matter. And so we don't allow Black pain to matter in this country, and we need to shift to that. So I just wanted to say those things to you and urge you to commit to your own growth, professional, individually, and then in your sphere of influence. How can you, because we all have power. Like, that's one of the things that we run into in our trainings is like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like, we all have power, and figure out how we can have that power in our sphere of influence, because we can do it. So anyway, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so very much. What a poignant lesson today. And we'll discuss that a little bit later, and now I'll turn it to Ashanti.
I hope this song resonates with you. I hope I picked the right song to resonate with you. Thank you so much for all of that. Can't wait to talk afterwards. I hope this song resonates and gives some healing.
There's a hero. If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be afraid of who you are. There's an answer if you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you know will melt away. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. When you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you finally see the truth that a hero lies in you. It's a long road when you face the world alone. No one reaches out a hand for you to hold. You can find love if you search within yourself, and that emptiness you felt will disappear. Then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside. No, you can't survive when you feel like hope is gone. Look inside you and be strong, and you finally see the truth that a hero lies in you. The Lord knows He's hard to follow. Don't let anyone stand in your way. Just hold on, 'cause there will be tomorrow. In time, you'll find a way. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. And when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you finally see the truth that a hero lies in you. That a hero lies in you. See you, a hero lies in you.
Wow. There are just no other words but wow. Thank you as always, Shanti, for your gift on Sunday morning. And everyone can experience the joy in giving of the gift that we have been given. And we invite you now to give of your gift to support the ministry of this church.
I worship you, Lord. Ooh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. I love you, Lord. Because you are, I give you glory. Because of who you are, I give you praise. Because of who you are, I will lift my voice and say, Lord, I worship because of who you are. Lord, I worship you because of who you are. Because of who you are, I give you glory. Because of who you are, I give you praise. Because of who you are, I will lift my voice and say, Lord, I worship you because of who you are. Lord, I worship you because of who you are. You see, you're Jehovah, my provider, Jehovah Nissi, Lord, you reign in victory. You're my Prince of Peace, and I worship you just because of who you are, I give you glory.
Thank you. And we will close with the words of John Lewis. Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. And I challenge you today, Wedgwoodians, go get in some good trouble.